You know, I was watching a couple of those Rankin Bass Easter specials. I think the one that you watched last night was The
Uh-huh.
Easter Bunny is Coming to Town.
Yep.
And then I watched some other Easter Rankin Bass special, which was
Here
like a
comes
hand
Peter
drawn
Cottontail.
It
Oh,
might
no,
have been
no.
no
That one was
the
stop
hand
motion
drawn
too.
animated one, kind of like how the Frosty was hand drawn animated. Remember the Frosty
Okay,
one
I'm
they
not
did?
sure about that one, but
This is
okay.
the third one they did.
Yeah.
And in the hand drawn animated one, the Easter Bunny was created because this young girl got scarlet fever, so the doctor said that her clothes and her favorite plush bunny had to be burned.
Oh, that was the Velveteen Rabbit.
Oh, that's not the Easter Bunny.
No, no, but it's still a great story. It's still a
Oh, for the
great
love
story.
of Pete, I thought that was because the fairy came and blessed or
Yeah.
did magic on the rat on this plush, so it became a real bunny.
Oh, yeah, that's the Velveteen Rabbit.
Well,
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't
good,
know.
good
Okay,
story.
so these are two different bunnies.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, because I was starting to think you're playing fast and loose. What's the origin of the Easter Bunny?
The comparison you're going to have to draw is the Easter Bunny's coming to town, and here comes Peter Cottontail,
I
which
think
you could argue is two different Easter
I think I
bunnies too.
watched that with you a couple
Yeah.
years back. I think we might have done this on that in this channel a couple years back for an Easter special. No
Yeah.
Easter special tonight. Just some news tonight. Some dark news that we're going to get into. Those of you who are Nickelodeon fans and
Yeah.
are unawares of the recent revelations, you are going to may want to tune out because it will ruin your childhood. But anyway,
But
welcome
at the same time, we really do need to start facing reality these days, people. We really do.
because it was like on did you ever there was a South Park episode where they were doing a song called everyone it's all about being in your safe space, right? It was a musical number.
Right.
And then a villain shows up and he has the top hat and the twirly mustache
Uh-huh.
and he's there to ruin their safe spaces and his name was Reality.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And all
yeah.
the oh no, Reality, not him. Yeah, get out of here,
Exactly.
Reality. And it was funny.
That's exactly right.
But welcome everybody to Geeky Geezers. This is I am your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host PaPa Pacelli. Welcome
Hello.
to Geeky
Hello.
Geezers for the day of March 31st. I'm telling you, I had a 1-2 whammy. Easter today plus last night was my mom's birthday, so I've been busy this weekend. But
Oh yeah, I would imagine.
we have a show tonight. In fact, let me load up my slides while I'm thinking of it. But
Yeah, don't forget this week.
funny man. Anyway,
I don't even have my camera on, and I'm funny.
Okay. Anyways, upload. So was that the Easter Bunny? What is this? What
Was that the Easter Bunny I saw dressed up as a geeky geezer this morning delivering goodies? I said maybe.
I would maybe. I was very happy. Apparently, the Easter Bunny dropped off a Reese's Bunny for me this morning. So
Oh, there you go.
I don't. I guess he still visits even me at my age. That's nice. Okay. Sure, it wasn't a family member that did that. It had to be the Easter Bunny. Anyway.
Exactly.
Hail, Ancient Baby Boomer, Last Call Netters Network. Welcome, Deleted Scenes. You can catch us on Sparkwood and 21 this Tuesday.
Yep.
I think he was taking it easy today because of the holiday, but I think he did do a Western cinema. Welcome, Zootopia. Welcome, Curtis Selby. I used to read the Velveteen Rabbit with my son. I'm going to tell you, in that
Zootopia.
Easter Bunny special, when they're singing the Rock Candy Mountain song,
Yeah.
I don't think those are the lyrics.
No, they're slightly altered. Yeah.
I've
that's true.
heard the lyrics. Those are maybe the lyrics are not exactly kid friendly. It's
Yeah, I was gonna say too. It's an old folk song, and so there's many versions out there, but some of them might not be.
I have the one on the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy's singing it. He's brilliant. He's going. It's like, what is it? The prison cells are made out of tin, and you can walk right out of them as easy as you can walk in. And then
Yeah.
he goes on. It's like, I don't know. And and the rivers are run with gin. And
Ooh, that sounds good.
it's funny. It's a funny song, but
But I did point out during the watch party. I said, as soon as they say, he's got to cross over Big Rock Mountain, it's like that song's coming up. They created it specifically to do that. Yeah.
I uploaded my notes. What am I doing tonight? So let's see here, though. But yeah, here we are on this Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, everyone. Happy Passover to those that celebrate Passover. And welcome. And give me a moment while I. Yeah, it's not that I forgot to upload the slides. I didn't even make the PDF out of them yet.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
the holiday weekend. You should be happy I'm here.
Exactly. And I'm sick. You should be happy I'm here.
Thank you for braving and seriously.
Oh, I felt so dumb when I got up this afternoon. Really,
make a PDF.
I got up this afternoon and I see your response to me. You sent me the notes, not the thumbnail, and I thought through what I did, and I'm like, "Yep, that's almost certainly exactly what I did."
I was late getting this stuff up anyway. Hold on.
Yeah.
Upload file. I called it Geeky, not Geeky Geezers. Hold on. Where are we? Geeky PDF. I did make a PDF. I just uploaded the wrong thing. There we go. But here we are. Welcome to Zootopia, and anyone else who pops in, a future welcome. We unfortunately had some.
And welcome to Geeky fans. No, I mean Geeky Geezers.
This is a bad time to be a fan of geek culture. Remember the old days of being a geek when the arguments were in the geek community were about Star Wars versus Star Trek.
Oh yeah, and it was usually like tongue-in-cheek kind of fun.
Or
really.
Marvel versus DC.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was hit back, Sega versus Nintendo, and things.
And
like that.
you'd pick your side to fight it out, but in the back of your mind, you read both Marvel and DC. You know, you enjoyed both Star Trek and Star Wars. You know,
Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings. That was another one that came later, and now here we are, where it's ESG or no ESG.
Right.
But here we go.
Oh yeah, this is just miserable. This is
a miserable night of stories. We'll try not to.
I thought you were going to say something about the images on the left. I may have gone a little bit far there.
No, I'm sorry.
But I couldn't pass up on that Nickelodeon. That is an actual Nickelodeon sign.
Of course it is.
And it is now so creepy. It's like, if you know, right?
Do not think that wasn't intentional. I'm learning some things. What was his name? Dan Stein?
Stock? I don't know. Something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He used to be on Head of the Class. Remember Head of the Class? The large guy in Head of the Class, the old sitcom? I don't know if you watched Head of the Class.
Oh, yeah.
He was on it. He was like the big guy in the class. He ended up becoming a Nickelodeon producer. I'm learning all sorts of horror stories about him, but that's not even the other. I mean, his abuse was different. It wasn't like, it was more like he was mean. It was, of course, I haven't gotten through the whole series yet, so we'll see. So here we go. First, well, I don't know. I guess we're going to reminisce about a couple of Louis.
We definitely do try to be positive, at least at the beginning of the show. This is why we call it Geeky Geezers, because we're old farts that remember a time before all this bullshit, you know?
So I figured to remember poor Louis Gossett Jr., who passed away recently, we would, Dan Schneider, thank you, deleted scenes and pop culture mechanic. Anyway, Louis Gossett Jr. passed away recently. I will do his more in a minute, but I figured we would reminisce good old days about a couple of Louis Gossett Jr. movies. So I'll go first with Enemy Mine.
My mother took me to the cinema to see this movie. We loved this movie.
Yes.
This was, it was brilliant. And it was the kind of sci-fi that the sci-fi seemed really incidental. You know, it seemed like just your basic. This could have been any kind of war movie, you know, where the Allied and the Axis, you know, separated by language and culture, you know, are trapped, you know, after both their ships are shot down. And I mean, because there are World War II stories like that. There's World War I stories like that. This is just good storytelling. And Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr.? I didn't even realize it was Louis Gossett Jr. under all that makeup for the longest time.
I have to say, I know it's a science fiction movie that some people have simply hated. The haters can go away. This is a great movie.
Yeah.
And frankly, his performance as this alien, one of the Drax, is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's his voice doing all the weirdness, all the weird, because he's a reptile. It's a reptilian race, so he has like a
like a hissing type of
a hiss type of talk. Yeah. It's brilliant, and the fact that he has to show emotions underneath all that makeup at the same time.
It's pretty impressive.
And it was a great makeup job as far as I'm concerned. He looks alien. It doesn't look.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of the aliens on Star Trek, they were playing a little fast and loose, but
when it's just a few ridges on the bridge of the nose, it's okay, come on, people.
It's like,
oh, their culture is so different because their last name is first and their first name is last. Woo!
That's how it is in some cultures on Earth, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just... Enemy of Mine is an amazing film. I agree, Big Al.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a wonderful story. So, and of course, like most... People don't understand that sometimes science fiction, and I think Star Trek did this too, and a lot of science fiction is they're taking an examination of us now,
right?
But doing it through a different lens.
Imagine that, yeah.
Because sometimes you can't get away with talking about certain modern issues.
This was always the thing behind the alien, right? The alien in sci-fi was meant. You talk about all this BS representation these days. You were supposed to look at the alien, and that alien was the stand-in for whatever representation you wanted to project on him, whether it was the gay person or the black person or the, whatever. It was the alien.
In War of the Worlds, I'm sorry, the Martians are supposed to be the British Empire.
Right.
It's almost like what if Britain was experiencing something the way maybe other countries were dealing with the British Empire at the time? And I think I could be wrong, but that's always been my thought on that.
Definitely a reasonable assumption for that. Yeah.
But here we go. We have Louis Gossett Jr. and basically said that in the future, the human race had banded together and no more conflicts. We're now out colonizing space, exploring the stars. I wish we were there.
Yeah.
Right now, I wonder if that would help us get over some of
our
BS.
I saw a meme just the other day. I don't know if you heard about it, but the new space telescope was actually, it detected light coming from an exoplanet, like 1 trillion light years away or some crap like that. Yeah, it's like that sensitive. And one speculation is that it's like city lights from the planet. And the person who is like, putting up the meme and reacting to it is going, really? And what is the cost of living there?
I'm telling you,
right?
You joke.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, a little plug for Deleted Scenes on Action Theater Presents. They will be doing a special rewatch of Enemy Mine.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I agree, Curtis Selby. Underrated film. But here's what it is. It starts out, here's his dreaded enemy. He shoots him. And they're both stuck on this horrible alien planet. That feels like an alien planet.
Exactly.
There are weird creatures, weird monsters, like this thing that exists in this pit.
Right.
That has this long tentacle that pops out, and it's very disturbing.
Yep.
And like I said, if you were using like a World War II analogy, they might get stuck on an island where there was like a like wildlife that they were both not used to or something.
There was oh shoot, what was that movie? It was a Japanese guy, and I want to say, was it a John Wayne film? Oh, I'm forgetting who it was, but they're on an island and they got to survive, and I don't think they speak each other's language. Oh man, somebody help me out. But it's a World War II film. I just saw it recently.
He said it was Hell in the Pacific. Is that the title of the movie?
Could be. Let me look it up.
But look at that makeup job on Louis Gossett Jr., though. That's amazing.
Right?
And, the fact that he had to perform through that. Just amazing. And, of course...
Yes, Lee Marvin. That's what it was. Hell in the Pacific. You're right.
This alien race is interesting, though, because it's they produce asexually.
Right.
So that'll maybe lead to something later on in the movie. Maybe there'll be a third member of this group trying to survive on this planet. But...
I also... Look at those teeth. You get like fake teeth on aliens in so many movies, but that is really alien. It's not just some gnarly jagged teeth or sharp fangs or whatever. That's alien teeth.
Almost looks like a hardened cartilage or something, right?
Yeah,
much like regular teeth.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I remember the scene where Dennis Quaid's character is trying to break in and steal the Drax food, and it looks like these Jello cubes, right?
Yeah.
That's their rations. But it's what I like about it is, though, as the movie goes along, these two characters grow, they learn from each other. He starts reading from the Holy Book of the Dracs and starts reading passages like "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," that sort of thing. And he's like,
exactly.
"I've read all this before in the human version of this," and he goes, "Of course you have, because the truth is the truth." Which I thought was interesting, you know. And
I like that, yeah.
And just really, really excellent movie. Great performance by Louis Gossett Jr. I highly recommend it. And it ends too with basically the Dennis Quaid character is able to help bridge the gap between the two races. Basically, he's able to start the peace process with this race that was alien, and we were both set on wiping each other out. And no, not anymore. At the end of the movie, so. Good science fiction. This was a good science fiction movie and highly underrated. And the effects were good too. Some of those space effects. I don't think it was ILM. I could be wrong. Maybe it was ILM, but I thought they looked pretty good. Good movie. I love the ending of the movie. I do too. Yeah, I don't want to.
And I gotta say,
those of you that watched it, yeah.
I think you might have even undersold how well acted this is on the part of Louis Gossett Jr. He really demonstrated a whole range just in this one role.
Yeah, excellent. Well, in some ways, he has to become more feminine in one scene, right?
Kinda, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Basically, because he's So it's just I don't want to say he. Technically, I guess they're neither, right? But
right,
Drax,
right,
but
exactly.
I enjoyed this movie. This was just an excellent movie, and I recommend it to everyone in the chat. If you've not seen it, Think Enemy of Mine was a German-made film. Oh, that's interesting. You have a lot of German productions that are in English and stuff. I know 20th Century Fox put it out. Like, all the Resident Evil movies with Mia Jovovich, they're technically German productions, even though they're in English. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, but yeah.
And here we have
I love
Iron
this movie.
Eagle.
Yeah.
This is your pick.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Maybe talk a bit more of that. I know I've seen this at least once.
I saw all the Iron Eagle movies, and they just get more disappointing as you go. They never live up to the first one,
I see. I do remember on Cobra Kai, Johnny Lawrence was watching this in the first episode, remember?
Johnny Lawrence has good taste, then.
He really looking up to the Louis Gossett Jr. character on this, and the way he talks to this. So I want to say this. People would argue, well, this is probably just a Top Gun ripoff, right? Tell me why they're wrong. What's different about this movie? Yeah,
this is more of a coming of age story. It's a mentor-mentee sort of film, and I mean, I'm sure that it hit at just the right time to get some kind of synergy from, all of the Top Gun hype, but that's not really what this movie's about. It's a very different film.
Right. Oh, Jessica Gerardo says, I've only seen Iron Eagle about 5 times.
Only? Okay, well.
You're not a true fan.
Yeah, you're going to have to work on that. You're young, you got time.
There we go, though. But I take it he's the mentor for
exactly.
the pilot here, right?
Exactly.
Which, of course, we hear later on, I'll read about with Officer and a Gentleman, how, we are getting to the point in the 80s where you could have a black character be a mentor to a white character, which probably wasn't as typically seen back then.
It's interesting you say it that way, because I'll be honest with you, growing up, never even thought twice about it.
Of course not. Yeah,
I didn't look at him and say he's a black guy. I looked at him and said he's the older guy, with the wisdom,
Well, you and I both grew up in similar circumstances. This might have been maybe the older generation was used to seeing this, but we were taught, not to stop judging people based on their background or the color of their skin. We were taught that in grade school. I remember that. Then, of course, we're living in our modern times where things are different, but that was a thing that we were supposed to be effectively colorblind. This was supposed to be us going forward. We're all Americans. Let's move on from this nonsense. But,
Big Al makes a great point. Iron Eagle, I did see it in cinema, but it played continuously on cable, and it was right at that time. It was kind of the birth of cable, and I think I've talked about this before, where the licensing for cable was just in its infancy. They hadn't quite figured it out yet, and sometimes you would have, especially films that weren't super popular in the cinema, license out to HBO, Showtime, whatever, to try and recoup as much cash as they could. And then you had this movie playing all the time, so you'd end up seeing it because there was nothing else on. You'd be like, this is a pretty good movie that I wouldn't have otherwise seen, you know?
Yeah.
And that's that, you know, the birth of the sleeper hit, right? It didn't do real well in the theaters, and then it became a huge, you know, pop cultural thing on cable. And you'd talk about it with your friends at school, and then when they'd put out a sequel, like, oh, I want to go see it. And if it sucked, you're like, oh, man.
A lot of John Carpenter movies made their money back on cable, like The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. Not huge hits theatrically, but they did very well on video and on cable. It's a pity because, what was it? I think Matt Damon was talking about how the collapse kind of the DVD sales market hurt smaller movies that you put out, because you used to get a lot of other movies greenlit back in the day, because even if it didn't do as well in box office, they knew it could also pick up on, you know, DVD sales and
exactly.
You know, licensing out to like maybe Netflix or something else.
And welcome Sashi. Sashi makes a great point, because he's pointing out this was the 80s, right? You know, when we talk about things from the 80s,
oh sure,
the rise of cable TV and the change in the way we consumed media. It was a double hit, right? Because it was cable and VHS, home media was starting. So not only were you getting these movies without commercials, if you had like HBO and Showtime and whatnot, pumped right into your house, but you could make a recording of it on VHS.
Really?
Oh, sure. Because at first you couldn't afford to buy them. At first, you couldn't afford to.
I never did that. You aren't supposed to do that. I'm being funny.
Well, it's funny you say that, because they actually fought that out in court, and legally speaking, absolutely you can. You absolutely did have a right to that.
You could get 3 movies on a single VHS tape if you record on SLP.
Yeah, but you didn't want to do that, because then you'd have really, really low quality.
We did it all the time in my house, and later on I began thinking, why did I do this? When I got older in high school, I realized the quality is terrible. Why did I keep doing this? But we originally did that, and I remember when I would record Doctor Who episodes, you could get 3 onto one VHS tape, but if you made a mistake and didn't realize it was like a 6-parter, you'd be screwed. Okay, you know.
Well, there's a good point.
You had the rare
there.
6-parter in some like the Tom Baker era.
That's a very good point. I know this movie was about request mission, while this is an Air Force movie that used F-16, whereas Top Gun was a Navy movie that used updated version of the F-14 Tomcat. That's another crucial difference between the two, Air Force versus Navy. Yeah, that is a big difference. And I don't
Top Gun's Navy. That's right.
I don't think enough people realize what the difference is between the two. But they are very, very distinct.
Armed forces. My father was in the Air Force. So, yeah.
Right, exactly. Oh, he was a Zoomy, huh?
Yeah, he didn't fly though.
You're either a Zoomy or you're a squid, right?
Probably a squid, yeah. That's
or a leatherneck, or a grunt, I guess.
I guess. He went all over the world apparently at some point, but luckily he missed direct conflict, because I think it was after Korea, but before Vietnam started getting hot. So.
Oof,
but back then you had to serve. You were a young man. You ended up serving.
Oh yeah.
Unless you were in college, I guess. Yeah, but Iron Eagle had a great soundtrack too. I mean, it's a classic movie that I think I need to revisit. And this is where I want to ask you about Iron Eagle 2. Is this not worth watching?
It's definitely not as good, but it's hard to say it's not worth watching. Well, at least for me, I had to see it as a kid. It was like, I enjoyed the first one so much, I had to see the second one.
Is this the one where the guy had the girlfriend who was a pilot, and she was going up into flight, and she was giving him the feminist stuff, and he says, "Why is it so hard that all I want is to not see you get hurt?" Which I thought, well, that makes a good point there.
Yeah.
This movie?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
After the first movie, they do kind of blur together in my memory.
Right, because
real quick, let's say hi to, speaking of ladies, Lady Mist, welcome. Thanks for being here.
But I remember that was a very passionate thing, and I got her point of view, but I got his point of view too.
Exactly.
And see, that's what we call nuance.
Yeah.
Which you don't necessarily get. Hello, Lady Mist. But yeah, Iron Eagle 1 and 2 definitely. Is he in all of them, or or does they eventually lose him and they get Steven Seagal in the last one? I'm kidding, of course. I'm just
yeah. See, that's the and I don't like to say this because we are going to be focusing on Louis Gossett Jr. But he did run through a rough patch in his career, so he ended up taking roles that maybe weren't well advised just to keep working.
Yep.
You know.
And we may get to a couple of them on Friday during our canon films.
Yes, we will. Absolutely.
I will say this: the one he was in with Chuck Norris, Firewalker.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. I like that movie.
Oh yeah.
It's a B action movie, but I actually think it's good. I think it's a good.
The thing is, when you put certain actors into films, no matter how bad they are, they're still going to be okay.
I thought they had good chemistry together too.
Sure,
I'm typically not a big Chuck Norris fan, but I did like him in that movie with Louis Gossett Jr.
What? You don't like Chuck Norris? Oh, that's it. We're done. I can't be friends with you.
Listen to me. Some of those early parts, Invasion USA. He was hired for his martial arts prowess. I think he grew into acting later on during.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
That's the Octagon. Oh, I was watching that again.
I mean, and you can say this about a lot of action stars. You can say that about.
Dolph Lundgren, probably.
Well, definitely Dolph Lundgren. I was going to say Arnold. You know.
One could argue Arnold never did. I'm sorry, I'm being mean. Arnold's
No. There are some more recent roles that he's gotten into where he's got the drama on. You know, he really does. His range has very, very much improved.
But he and Linda Hamilton were incredible in Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah.
In Dark Fate. They were the ones dragging Dark Fate
They
down.
both. It was very clear they had both completely checked out for that film.
But I held back because I know the young actress Mackenzie Davis. Whatever you think about the movie, I think she was giving it her all for that performance, and I felt bad that she was stuck in that movie. I don't know if her career.
I am going to say, and I kind of just said it a little bit about Louis Gossett here. It's you got to choose your roles, you know, and if the movie sucks, sorry, you chose to be in it, you know.
Here's the problem we have with a lot of these young actors. Like, will you argue we have to choose roles? I get that, but when you haven't had a hit yet. Like when you're still trying to climb up that ladder just to get something, you're going to take a thing like a Terminator or a Star Wars.
I understand the temptation, but I will not give any grace for that because you choose the wrong role, you never get past it. Look at that, what's that girl's name from Showgirls? We never saw her do anything after that.
Elizabeth Berkley.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we knew she could have broken out of her TV mold if she chose the right role. That was clearly not the right role.
Yeah. All right, but Louis Gossett Jr., check out his films. We'll be talking about more movies this Friday on Troy's channel. We are going to be doing a tribute to Canon Films. I should have added a thumbnail to the slideshow, but you'll see it again Friday.
Yep, absolutely.
If any of you don't know what Canon Films are, be sure to tune in Friday. In fact, I have to send you a link to the... You probably won't have time to watch the documentary for Friday's stream, but there's a documentary about Canon Films that you may want to check out someday. I think I sent you the trailer for it at least, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot
Electric Boogaloo, the wild, untold story of Canon Films. I'm gonna have to check that out.
And it might be on. I think the whole thing might be on YouTube too. But it actually they interviewed Lou Ferrigno in that. Remember when he was doing the Hercules movies?
Sure. Yeah.
He got very angry. We'll talk about it Friday. But
okay.
Unfortunately, we're going to pivot now. Louis Gossett Jr., star of An Officer and Gentleman and Roots, dies at age 87. This affected me a bit.
Yeah.
Granted, I haven't thought about him for a while, but he's one of those actors, when you're growing up in the 80s, you knew Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah.
And you knew if he was in the movie, it wasn't going to be bad, or he would at least make a bad movie better just by his presence in there.
Exactly.
And because, like I said, some of his roles, some would argue, might have been more questionable than others. But yeah, let me go ahead and read a bit from this. Give me a second. But yeah, he's died at age 87. And did you know he was in Roots?
I did. Yes, he's the one who that whole line with LeVar Burton about your name is Toby. You know, that's him.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah. Louis Gossett Jr., the tough guy with a sensitive side, who won an Oscar for his portrayal of a steely sergeant in An Officer and a Gentleman, and an Emmy for his performance as a compassionate slave in the landmark miniseries Roots, died Friday. He was 87. In a statement obtained by The Hollywood Reporter, his family says, "It is with our heartfelt regret to confirm our beloved father passed away this morning. We would like to thank everyone for their condolences at this time. Please respect the family's privacy during this difficult time." And of course, I know everyone in my chat will do that, but it's always good for them to put that out there. First cousin Neil L. Gossett told the Associated Press that Gossett died in Santa Monica. No cause of death was given, but the actor announced in 2010 that he had a prostate cancer.
Oh, God. Yeah,
I know. With his sleek, bald plate and athlete's physique, Gossett was intimidating in a wide array of no-nonsense roles, most notably in Taylor Hackford's Officer and a Gentleman, 1982, where as Gunnery Sergeant Emil Foley, he rides Richard Gere's character mercilessly, but for his own good, at an officer candidate school and gets into a memorable martial arts fight. He was the second black man to win an acting Oscar following Sidney Poitier in 1964. I think you said that he was the first one to win a supporting actor.
Supporting actor, yeah, exactly.
Poitier, I think, won Best Actor, yeah.
Yep.
For the role, the 6'4" Gossett trained for 30 days at the Marine Corps Recruitment Division, an adjunct of Camp Pendleton, north of San Diego. I knew I had to put myself through at least some degree of this all-encompassing transformation, Gossett wrote in his 2010 biography, An Actor and a Gentleman. Douglas Day Stewart's original script called for Gere's Zach Mayo to beat up Foley. The Marines changed it, Gossett recalled in a 2010 interview. They said that an enlisted man would never beat up a drill sergeant. We'll tear the place up unless you change it, they said. If you don't do this well, Mr. Gossett, we're going to have to kill you. In a statement, Friday, Hackford noted that the part was written to be a white man. When I visited the Navy Officers Flight Training Center in Pensacola, Florida, I discovered that many of the drill instructors were men of color, the director said. I found it interesting that black and brown enlisted men had make or break control over whether white college graduates would become officers and fighter pilots. At that moment, I changed the casting profile of Sergeant Foley and started meeting actors of color. Lou Gossett came to see me. I knew and admired his stage work. He told me that he'd serve in the U.S. Army and as a ranger. So in addition to being an accomplished actor, he knew military life. I hired him on the spot. Lou Gossett Sergeant Foley may have been the first black character in American cinema to have absolute authority over white characters. The Brooklyn native capitalized on this hard-ass image in such films as The Punisher in 1989. Remember The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And that's an underrated movie, actually.
I did like that movie. I really did.
It's a good Punisher movie. That needs to get a Blu-ray re-release. And Iron Eagle in 1986 and its 3 sequels. In the Iron Eagle series, he starred as Colonel Charles Chappie Sinclair, a leader of dangerous rescue missions and threatening international locales. In 1955, Gossett played George Murchison in the original Broadway production of Lorraine Hansberry's domestic tragedy, A Raisin in the Sun, then segued to Danielle Petrie's 1961 Columbia film adaptation along his stage co-stars Poitier and Ruby Dee, launching his career in Hollywood. I didn't know he was in the original stage production of A Raisin in the Sun, did you?
I had heard it, of course. I didn't see it.
That's a huge... that's a great American play.
Yes, I've read it. I've never seen it.
I've heard it performed on LA Theater Works, and I've seen it. I think I've seen snippets of it being performed. I need to check out that movie. It's one of the great American plays. I do recommend it.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, Lorraine Hansberry left us while she was very young. For her age to have written that play too, when she wrote it,
right.
It was his eloquent portrayal as Fiddler, an older slave who teaches a young Kunta Kinte, LeVar Burton, to speak English in the 8-part ABC miniseries Roots that earned him his first significant dose of national recognition. 85% of the U.S. population tuned in for at least a portion of Roots, and the finale drew more than 100 million viewers in January 1977. All the top African-American actors were asked, and I begged to be in there, Gossett once said. I got the best role. I think it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Louis Gossett Jr. But he does have a legacy, and I'm going to have to check out those Iron Eagle movies, at least the first one, definitely. I think I'm due for a rewatch on that. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure many of you love them too. But I like Punisher actually for the Netflix series of the film, but frankly, not by much. This was the I don't know if this is the they were talking about the '80s Punisher, which I thought had kind of an interesting plot. The plot of it is that the Punisher has done so well killing off members, I guess, of the New York Mafia, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That the Yakuza step in to take over the turf.
yeah.
So now there's a war between the Mafia and the Yakuza because the Punisher made the Mafia weak by his constant killing off of captains and stuff.
And if you think about it, that's exactly what would happen. You create a power vacuum.
And so the movie is him going up against both groups at that point, which I found fascinating. And of course, the Yakuza have ninjas and other things working for them. And
Exactly.
It's an underrated movie. I remember the line from it though. Who sent you, Batman? Or something. Somebody saying that. American Bennett for more stage actors on the screen. Just my 2 cents. I hardly agree with that. Some of our best actors have been stage actors.
Oh, for crying out loud, Horizon Talker, I've been saying for the longest time, I'm getting sick of all these Broadway adaptations that pull in people that have never performed on Broadway before.
Yeah.
It used to be all of the best Broadway adaptations were all Broadway cast. Yeah. Usually people that played those roles on Broadway.
Yeah, it's it used to be, and now it's the reverse. Is that right? Is it like people?
They're bringing in people that they're bringing in directors that don't know how to direct musicals. They are bringing in musicians that have never, worked in Broadway before, and actors that can't sing.
You know what's interesting? I remember in the movie Hail Caesar, where Ray Fiennes is playing a very posh British director. I think for him it was a big deal that he was adapting a Broadway play into a feature, where that was more of an elevated thing to be doing than maybe a normal movie, which I don't know if there's the same respect for stage as there once was. I don't know. What do you think?
No. Well, but see, I don't think there's enough respect for anything at all in the entertainment industry these days.
Yeah. But that's why UK actors are always outshining US actors. Well, it's a pity, though. We've had great American actors like Louis Gossett Jr. here. And I'm just, like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. But I would that... Twere that it were so simple.
Yep.
You haven't seen Hail Caesar, have you?
I have not.
Okay, it's a funny scene because the Ray Fiennes director gets stuck with instead of getting the actor he wanted, the studio send a singing cowboy actor, like the one who's always in like these singing cowboy movies, westerns, in like this serious like upper crust drama movie. And they get into it. He doesn't like how he's saying the lines. I'll just put it mildly, and it's a funny scene. All right, Lady V. But rest in peace, Louis Gossett Jr.
Let me make sure I'm getting the right one. This is if you go out of order, you got to let me know. Xbox launches. No.
No, I didn't change the order. No.
Okay.
Xbox launches new resource to help developers add inclusion to their games.
I did the best I could to put them in a logical order, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to change it up.
Because I actually understood your order. I almost switched them up, and then I was like, well, I actually get why Troy did this, because this sort of does feed into it. It sort of loops around. I think that's what happens. Because I
think you're right.
I understand the order you picked. There is a logic to it.
But I think I know exactly how you would have changed it, too, and I was like, okay.
No, I left it alone because I figured. Okay. Plus, let's just get through this.
And while you're reading that one out,
welcome. If you're an Xbox fan, you're not going to like what I'm going to be saying.
I'm going to go ahead and drop a supplementary piece by Midnight's Edge. You should definitely check out about this particular article.
Midnight's Edge has been talking about games lately. See, this is not typically a game stream. I mean, I may mention if a new game is coming out every so often, but typically I did not. Unfortunately, the culture war lately is now in the gaming space like it was years ago. But let's get into this. Xbox has launched the Gaming for Everyone product inclusion framework, a series of resources and information on how to make games more inclusive. It was announced during a talk at GDC 2024 in San Francisco and covers 4 areas of globalization, accessibility, representation, and approachability. The framework was first launched internally in 2019, and now Microsoft is making it available for other studios here. You know what the irony is? At the beginning of 2019, I bought my first Xbox because I wanted to get away from Sony and the fact they were picking on smaller Japanese developers for content. And now I realize this was going on in Microsoft.
Yep.
It's not funny. Anyway, the project is led by the firm's gaming. Now, I'll read. On the surface, none of this sounds bad, but we're going to get into it. The project is led by the firm's Gaming for Everyone team, which started in 2015 in order to bring gaming to everybody on the planet. What we found in the early days of Gaming for Everyone is that people, even internally, got inspired by the idea. Katie Jo Wright, Xbox head of Gaming for Everyone and Sustainability, tells Games Industry Biz. The framework goes public at a time where a small subset of gamers have been pushing against diversity efforts in games. Are there concerns that perhaps some developers might become wary of introducing some of the ideas put forward in the framework? Wright doesn't think so. We started doing this because as developers, we want to get our games played by as many people as possible. It's all about expanding reach, she explains. When you talk to a developer, do you want to limit how many people play your game? No. That's
exactly what we're doing.
Anyway, no, she says no. Now that I'm saying that's what she says.
I know.
We're going to get into it in the next article. I'm not going to spend forever on this. Now, that's how we think about it. Each developer gets to make the decision for themselves over who they want to expand their player reach to. The framework is not a checklist. It's not a mandate. Even internally, it's not that at all. It's just a way for you to get your game into the hands of more players in a meaningful way. Wright uses the notion of doorways and how, for some people, the doorway to gaming is closed. The framework shares guidance and ideas on how to open those doorways, but that doesn't mean every game should be looking to open every doorway. Are you getting confused yet? Let's move on.
Yeah, my question is, in what way are these doors closed? You want a game, you buy it, you play it. In what way is any door friggin' closed to you?
Well, let's continue. It's not about opening every door for every type of game because that could make the game vanilla. It's not about making every game for everyone. It's about making gaming for everybody. It's about how we can bring that level.
Wait. That literally just contradicted the sentence before it. It's not about making the game for everybody. It's about making the game for everybody.
About making the gaming sphere, the collection of games, the gaming hobby for everybody, as opposed to making each individual game for everybody.
It still sounds moronic. I mean oxymoronic.
Okay. It's about how we can bring that level of intentionality so that you as a developer can make the right decision for your experience. We will connect you to a bunch of different resources so that people are aware and can make an informed decision about their game. She adds, it's about intentional decisions. Do we want to open this door or leave it closed? Or do we want to lock this door? Sometimes it's the right thing to lock the door. For example, with age gating, not every 4-year-old should be able to play every game. But there are many doors along the gaming journey, and they are there whether we are making an intentional decision or not.
That door should be open and closed by their parents, not the company.
If it's content this person that she is talking about, I understand that some games are M-rated, like a scary game like Resident Evil probably shouldn't be being played by a 4-year-old. However, if it's about challenge, children enjoy a good challenge too.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about video games is you can fail over and over again. That's the point. But it ends with, if every game is a matter, in every game it is a matter of, do we want to open the door? This framework can apply to every single game, but it's up to each developer to decide whether it is the right thing for the experience they're making.
Right. So, Price of Reason has it spot on. It's about making the games for they, them. He's right.
Well, it's about making gaming for everybody, not each individual game. You can still make the games you want to make. Yeah. Now, I have a couple issues with this. If you yourself play games but you don't like the way the gaming landscape is for whatever reason, I would argue you should get into game development yourself. Become an indie creator even.
Sure.
And who knows, maybe Microsoft could even start a funding thing to help fund indie creators and get some of these projects off the ground.
I would argue that for most of these games, you should also make it as customizable to the person as possible. You should let them make the character they want. They should be able to play the way they want. They should be able to play with the people they want or not.
Well, it depends on the game. Like some games lend well to that, or if it's something, or some games you actually play as a specific character. Like in Batman, you'll play as Batman. Unless it's Suicide Squad, where you play as a bunch of...
Jesse, you're absolutely right. They don't care about making money. These people make their money on salary. So it doesn't matter to them whether the game makes money or not. That's the problem.
Okay.
You know, no one is held accountable for how well a game sells these days. You could say the same thing about comics. You can say the same thing about movies. All of this stuff.
Now, let's post the next article, if you would, because it bleeds into this next one. I didn't want to read that entire. If you want to read the corporate speak, you can check out the entire article.
That's why we dropped the article for you guys. This is the Microsoft cautions. Yeah.
Yep. So, but now we move into this area.
Yep.
Microsoft cautions developers to avoid curvy female characters. Well, okay. What about opening and closing doors and it being up to the developer's point? Microsoft urges developers not to create female characters with exaggerated body proportions on their official site to support game developers. The site entitled Product Inclusion Action, Help Customers Feel Seen, includes a bullet list of considerations they urge developers to make when working on their product. One Twitter user pointed out the language expressly condemning certain female characters as reinforcing negative gender stereotypes. This is from the site. Are you reinforcing any negative gender stereotypes?
Yeah, if I create an attractive character, somehow I'm reinforcing negative stereotypes. Somehow.
Yes, well, let me read what they say. You'll love this. Are you unnecessarily introducing gender and gender barriers into your code or design? So are these about closing gender doors, as that's what we're seeing here? Are you creating playable female characters that are equal in skill and ability to their male peers? Are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that fits their tasks? Do they have exaggerated body proportions?
See, those last two are the ones they have the biggest problem with. And it's like, do you not understand the whole concept of fantasy? Get the hell out of here. If we wanted reality, we'd be out doing all this stuff for real.
Well, it's like when people are complaining about the
these guidelines are anti-fun. That's exactly what they are. They don't want you to have fun. They want you to think the right think that they prescribe for you.
Like the main character in Stellar Blade, some people were complaining about the way she looked and how she was too pretty and unrealistic. And then
was that the one that I put in the thumbnail?
Yes, and then we find out no, she's actually pretty partial based on an actual Korean model who I believe did model the actions for the game.
Exactly.
Looked very similar to the game character.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, beautiful women do exist in this world.
Yeah, and they tend to be physically fit to do all this stuff. They don't tend to be like, rotund.
Yes. I was saying Troy is married to one, but anyway.
Exactly. No, exactly right.
When the story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range? This is my favorite one. This is the last one, though. When the story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range of emotions, including joy, sadness, and vulnerability? Wow.
I mean, I guess it depends on the story.
What do you
mean, I've seen.
It could be like an S&M thing or something. No, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, sure, there should be emotional beats. Maybe a cut scene when the character's significant other or parent gets killed, and that's the setup for the whole story. Sure, why not?
Recently, Western game developers have been making a point to rally against objectification in games and are citing unrealistic beauty concerns set by fictional characters. Most recently, as I mentioned before, Stellar Blade has been the subject of such criticism, despite the game's heroine being based off of a real-life model.
Exactly.
A real person looks like the character in the game. I'm sorry.
Lady V says, do guys get offended by the super masculine and muscular dudes in games? Absolutely not. Those are the ones we want to play. And without a shirt, too. I don't care if it reflects it's reflected in the armor class or not.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to post the picture. There we go. That's the picture of the character. That's from the beginning article. Yep. See, that's the character from Stellar Blade.
You would not surprise me if you told me that the motion capture actress was like a dancer. You know, I would not be surprised by that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. OMG, they know how game designers use motion capture systems that will use the same body shape as the actor. Yeah, that's where we are.
This one actually is great. Lady V says they are unrealistically good at cliff jumping too. Yeah, I would love to see how successful a game would be if they made the leaping and jumping physics 100% real. It would be, well, I don't even want to do this game. I die every time I try to get across that cavern, or every time I try, every single time.
I'm trying to think. I think Prince of Persia made an attempt at doing that, because it was a parkour based character, but you had the time reversal thing, so when your character would end up as a bloody slab, you could reverse time.
You could reverse time and do it over again. Yeah,
I loved that game.
Yeah.
Back when Ubisoft used to make stuff I wanted to play. But anyway, where are we though? What's that, Microsoft? Don't buy your games. Okay, I won't. I have to tell you, we're going to get into that. I don't know what they're thinking. Some are thinking that maybe the reason Stellar Blade is Sony exclusive. I mean, I think also Sony bought it, but it's weird because I'm used to Sony doing this kind of crap. Like Sony, it says in the article, between Microsoft's developer site and Stellar Blade, it seems that there's been a reversal of roles. In recent years, Sony has been criticized for its censorship policies after relocating its gaming business units to California.
Let's be honest. This is the death knell of the tech industry. The Wokosos in Cyber Valley are making their last gasp at trying to have an impact on culture. The problem is, when you destroy the business that gives you the voice to have any kind of impact on culture, you no longer have any impact on culture.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Gamers have been more vigilant in recent weeks following an attempted harassment campaign initiated by an employee of Sweet Baby Inc. against Steam Curator. Yeah, this is from thatparkplace.com.
Yep.
That's where I got this. Putting out good stuff.
Definitely should be following That Park Place. Yes. They are good journalism in a world where we're running very low on good journalism.
But anyway, I think this is ridiculous. This is overstep. In my opinion, this goes. So when I was reading the previous article, you're listening to it and you're like, well, they're not telling people what to do.
They are. Yeah.
They're suggesting, and now it's looking like we strongly urge, and we're pretty close to becoming a mandate, and I can already tell what the next thing is up. Well, what if I don't know if what I'm doing is opening or closing a door? Well, then we recommend you hire out the services of certain companies to check in on your creative choices in your game, such as a Sweet Baby Inc.
Yeah. I would agree with you mostly, Jesse, except it's not man babies. It's blue-haired land whale, fourth wave feminists, and beta males.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard one YouTuber talk about how there are a lot of, I guess, white male game developers older, but like they have a lot of self-hatred. So that's part of this or something.
Yeah, that's what I said. Beta males. Yeah. Okay, let's go over to BBC and rip on them.
What on earth was this? This kind of came out of left field, but I get why you put this as third, because I'm like, and this is just. I think I did send this one to you originally too. What's interesting nowadays since the internet? In the old days, like Canada, Great Britain, had nothing against those countries, but we weren't as connected to those countries as we are now. Now I feel like all the English-speaking sphere is now influencing all parts of it. Do you understand? Like America influences England more than it used to, and vice versa, and Canada. So sometimes we get some bad imported things over here. But let me get into this. Okay, children's BBC host Jules Hardy called for the final purge of video game players after a boycott list was created for the video game consultancy group Black Girl Gamers, who worked on the Square Enix failure for Forspoken. Forspoken was a disaster, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Ex-user Becky, something number, shared a screenshot to the social media platform of a Steam group and curator list that was to inform gamers of all the games that Black Girl Gamers had worked on. The user wrote, "Black Girl Gamers, you wanted to defend Sweet Baby Inc. with all you could possibly. Well, here is your page because you wanted to finish Sweet Baby Inc. in when I do know that you both work together on projects and forced DEI is nothing more than racism." Interestingly, the user was created in March and the Steam group and curator list does not appear to exist anymore.
Yeah.
This is a little weird, don't you think?
I agree.
Someone created an account and brought up this list that I guess was attacking another curating, another, what do you call it? Another, I want to say this is a consultant group, which is Black Girl Gamers. Nevertheless, Black Girl Gamers responded to the post writing, "Well, we really got you pressed by just existing, laugh out loud. We've never worked with Sweet Baby Inc. You all saw Black in consulting and decided that we all work together. Sounds like racism. We're not stopping, so have fun." Hardy, who hosts the CBBC show Game on Grandparents and BBC's Top Gear gaming show, reacted to Black Girl Gamers post writing, "Can we all agree? I'm filling in some words here because there's some misprints. Can we all agree?"
Yeah, because nobody edits these days.
Yes. "Can we all agree that for round 2 of this, it can be the final purge of these kinds of gamers?" She added, "It's 2024. I've been arguing about this for decades. Can we have a last full detox of these dude so we can get back to the positive gaming community we have been creating?" In response to a query from YouTuber Melanie Mac, Hardy explained what she meant by final purge. So Melanie Mac got into this. Mac wrote, okay, so you want to purge real gamers in favor of activists who can't hang in a multiplayer lobby without having a meltdown, or who can't navigate single-player games without yellow paint, shiny ledges, and the characters telling them what to do. Hardy responded, "Nah, I want to purge the hate and vitriol from gamers who refuse to allow gaming to evolve." I think that's what she meant, not evolve. "And adapt as we humans are doing. I have no problem with opposing viewpoints, but hate, violence, and aggressive behavior isn't okay in any realm you live within." Now, here's an issue I have with this whole story here.
Well, wait a minute. Right there, I would say the only one I hear hating is her. Mm-hmm. So let's purge you, bitch.
I think here's what's going on. I feel that they have this,
and it breaks my heart because she's got great hair.
No, she looked good. I'm not. She looks good. I'm just. Here's what I don't understand. I think that there's this fantasy that there's this group of dude bro frat boys that are making life out for everybody else, and I'm sorry, this group doesn't exist. This is not
right.
And as far as who made this list goes, we don't know who made this list. We don't know if it was. It could have been a independent guy trying to troll both sides. It could have been the curation group themselves. We don't know because the person took down the list. I guess they got rid of their account. We don't know who it was. And I find it very odd that it just pops up and then disappears like a day later. So I'm sorry, when it's anonymous, it can be anybody. You don't know who it is. So stop acting like this is some organized thing by the gamers against.
I love that Jesse says, "Troy, I would get so much flack from my college professors for grammar and lack of editing." Sure, back in your day. These days you would get flack for not using the correct pronouns. Just saying.
Yeah, so, yeah. No, great hair, though. I'll admit that. I don't know why. I told you I've been feeling like Willy Wonka and people are yelling at us over nothing. Like, I don't know who made this curation list. I'd like to know who made it. I remember a while ago.
You know what it is? It's a hit list. And when she says, a final purge, she's talking about a final solution. Just saying. Just drawing comparisons here.
Yeah. I think the only frat boys that still matter are the ones in the WFE. You know what's interesting? The original Xbox, though, was sort of marketed toward the dude bro, right? Back in the early 2000s, with the guys drooling over the Dead or Alive characters, and now Microsoft is like gone completely in the opposite direction and is now yelling at the audience they were trying to market toward originally. Again, it might have been a mythical audience anyway, but
yeah,
I don't understand this, and we're going to get into that in a minute with this next article. If you want to go ahead and post that, it was totally a dude system.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get, and this is what I said about in my review of Ghostbusters and so many other things, you want to eliminate your core audience. That's fine. You're left holding an empty bag. Good luck to you.
Elon Musk reacted to Xbox Global Product Marketing Manager Kelly Lombardi asking for non-white males to raise their hands if they buy video games.
Yeah.
So let's get into this one.
That was a perfect picture you chose. It's like, you said what, girl?
Yes, basically. Yeah. It's something where he was like, I guess, folding his hands or at least doing something.
Yeah.
Had his arms crossed at one side. Elon Musk reacted to Xbox Global Product Marketing Manager Kelly Lombardi. This is not this isn't like a host of some show over in England. This is someone who actually works for Microsoft in the marketing department. So manager Kelly Lombardi asking for non-white males to raise their hands if they buy video games. Lombardi posted to X on March 27th, raise your hand if you're not a white man and you buy video games. She added, no hate to white dudes. It's just another day in the gaming industry that minorities have to fight to prove they exist. So I don't know who thinks that minorities don't exist in the gaming industry. I know that when I was growing up as a child, I came from a very diverse area in New Jersey, and all the boys, no matter their background, had certain things in common, and one of them things is that they all played video games. So it's never been seen as I don't know who has seen this as a whites only hobby. In fact, some of the major game companies are in Japan, like Sony, originally Japanese company before they moved the base to Santa Monica, Nintendo, Japanese company, Sega, Japanese company. So already a big portion of their audience is going to be Japanese, but they also know when they're marketing overseas, they're marketing to different groups. Now, maybe over at Microsoft, this is what they thought. Over in the Xbox division, I don't know. But this is either just trolling or this is, what do you call it, confession by projection. So I don't know. Because I don't know who she's talking about. I don't know who's ever thought this way. Anyway, so this post was screen capped by YouTuber The Quartering, who wrote, meet the global head of marketing for Xbox. That was then shared by Ashley St. Clair, who wrote, this is a massive problem. It's widespread throughout the entire gaming industry. Musk reacted to Ashley St. Clair's posting, writing, it should not be acceptable for any company in the gaming to be racist and sexist against quote-unquote white guys. So let's see. This is not the first time Musk has commented on the happenings in the video game industry over the last month. He previously commented on video game consultancy group Sweet Baby Inc., describing the organization as an evil blight on the gaming industry. Musk shared his thoughts after Sweet Baby Inc. employee Chris Kindred attempted to shame Capcom into canceling YouTuber Asmongold for their Dragon's Dogma 2 game. Asmongold was announced as one of a number of official pawns that players can purchase in the game. As reported by Pandas and Vidya, Kindred reacted to the announcement, writing, saying, that's crazy. Isn't one of these people an active participant in a harassment campaign? So I guess Asmongold is a purchasable thing in the Dragon's Dogma game. I didn't realize that, which might explain why he wasn't as harsh on it as I thought he would be. But anyway, but no, he's not involved with a harassment campaign. Neither is RGT85, who's not really a political guy at all. In fact, I don't think that these guys even lean. I wouldn't even call them right-leaning, but I think they just got pulled into this because they were calling out the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff as nonsense when they were going after Cabrunas.
Look, there's a lot of people pointing this out. The way this Overton window works, when you are that far loony left, your normal lefties, your normal progressives start to go, hey, wait a minute, and then suddenly they're alt-right.
She's a liar, boomer. They all lie. Video games are and always have been for everyone. The only people want to change that are liars like hell. You know what? You're right. I'm giving her too much credit. She is probably just flat out lying, trying to stir the pot. and making stuff up that there's always been this perception. I've never understood this perception. In fact, I think maybe it's just being made up. You're right, because I don't know.
Well, and
that it's been a white male only hobby. That
you touched on it in that last one where she said something about, can't we get rid of these people to get on with the progressive blah 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 this and that we want to create. That's your problem.
Yeah,
you want to move into this space that's not yours, and completely alter it to be your, whatever it is. So in other words, you're a fucking colonizer. She's just saying.
She's just testing the people, seeing how much she can get away with having, okay, lady. I don't know what this, I mean.
I might pay attention to her a little more if she was showing them off a little bit, but.
That's the prior woman, not the one we're currently talking about.
Oh, right. Yeah,
but plus she's blonde, just smiling, nothing else. We'll piss her off the nose. She didn't affect anything. Well, apparently she's a children's host, which I thought odd. Like, she just shouldn't be getting involved in this. And like I said, Cabrutus, the guy that ran the scene, he basically said, do not harass these people. No one is calling on any of these people to be harassment. We may, even if we disagree with their curation.
Yeah.
So I don't know what more they want.
I do take issue with the people that we have in charge of our children too. We'll get to that in a little bit too.
We're gonna get there. Third-party publishers reportedly uncertain why they support Xbox. This has nothing to do with necessarily the culture war. Or maybe it does. Maybe people are not buying it. But I don't know anyone on the page if any of you own a current Xbox console. But Microsoft Xbox fans were in for quite a fright not too long ago. A slew of rumors hit the web suggesting that Xbox was bowing out. I kept teasing that I'd report on that, and then I felt it wasn't a big enough story because, I don't know. Well, we are bringing stuff out on other consoles, but it's not like major titles yet. Maybe they'll come eventually. But anyway, a slew of rumors hit the web suggesting that Xbox was bowing out. There wouldn't be new consoles, and first-party titles would launch on competitor platforms, and it really painted a doom and gloom picture. Now, a new report suggests there's even more disheartening comments made by third-party publishers. Now, basically, when I heard that, I then realized later on that no, wasn't quite as doom and gloom as they were making it out to be. So I didn't bother reporting on it. They're not bowing out of the console market right now. But thanks to VGC, though, we're finding out in a recent comment of game industry business Chris Dring suggests that Microsoft is in trouble. Chris's podcast episode spoke of his time at the Game Developers Conference last week. You guys can still hear me?
Yes, I just muted because.
Oh, that's fine. You can mute. You can mute. I'm sorry. That's fine. Let me get back to this. Okay, but he spoke of his time at GDC last week, where he managed to speak with a couple of publishers. It's not stated who these publishers were, but apparently they were similar comments from a big name publisher with a major release last year, along with a smaller publisher. Apparently, the larger publisher that released a major port for the Xbox stated that they don't know why they bothered supporting the Xbox Series XS platforms, as the market for their company is PC and PlayStation 5. Others have apparently chimed in with similar comments, in which it might make things even harder for Xbox as it attempts to compete against the likes of PlayStation and Nintendo. Meanwhile, we have seen recent comments from GDC by Phil Spencer about portable gaming. So there could be some kind of hardware announcement from the folks at Xbox that deals with portable gaming later this year. At any rate, we'll have to wait and see if Xbox can weather the rough waters right now. Of course, we know that Xbox is not afraid to bring some former exclusives to competitor platforms. It was just last month that we got word of 4 games coming to competitor platforms. They might not be massive releases, but the games are finding their way on rival platforms are Grounded, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, and Sea of Thieves. It would be interesting to see if other first-party games land on rival platforms if Microsoft begins to see fewer games being ported over to their platform. I'm not sure if you know how console gaming works as you've been a PC gaming, but basically a third-party game. Let me try to think of an example. It would be like if, Capcom wants to bring a Resident Evil game out on your system. Now, Capcom is not owned by Nintendo. They're not owned by Sony, but they'll get an agreement with Sony and they'll bring the game out on the platform, on the Sony-owned platform or the Nintendo-owned platform.
In a way, it's not too dissimilar.
Yeah.
in a way, it's not too dissimilar from the concept of, there's the company that makes the movie, there's the company that distributes it. There's, the aftermarket licensing on cable and so forth.
If I were to explain this in movie terms, it would be like there are 3 theater chains.
Oh, okay, sure.
You understand if that makes sense?
Okay, I see that too, yeah.
Yeah, like there are 3, like there's Regal, there's AMC, and maybe Carmike or something. And you can make your movie exclusive to one or bring it out with all 3 theaters. If I was using this in movie terms, the trouble is a lot of these third parties are wondering why they're bringing games out on the Xbox at all. I learned something from when I was watching videos on this. Apparently, Microsoft has 2 systems right now: the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X. Now, I originally thought that all the Xbox Series S was the Series X without the frills, like it didn't have a Blu-ray drive in it, so all the games had to be purchased digitally, and maybe it was a little weaker. But apparently, I think the game developers are almost seeing it as an entirely different system. So when they develop their game for the Xbox, they have to make 2 versions of it, one that works with the S and one that works with the X. And I guess when you purchase it digitally, you get both versions that you can port to either one, which I didn't realize at the time. So that's like twice the work, or at least maybe not twice, but a lot more work the developer has to go into to porting this thing to Xbox systems. And apparently these games aren't selling anyway.
Yeah.
So I think Microsoft's going to be in a world of hurt. I think right now they don't have an identity. Nobody seems to like their exclusives. Some of their smaller exclusives they're bringing to other consoles. So why do I need an Xbox to play them on? And now we have all this inclusion stuff where they're yelling about curvy female characters in games, which I'm sorry, your male player base and probably even some of the females in your player base would like to see. So
True.
I don't know where they are, because there's a lot of games coming out for Xbox that nobody asks for. I just don't get it. A lot of the former Xbox gamers that were loyal to Xbox, they say a lot of them are just going to PC. I've heard them say that they're going to go to Steam and other things and play the games on PC. And now that you have Steam Deck, you can play them portably too. So I don't know.
They're all going to PC and playing on Steam. I'm not saying anything.
I like consoles, but I don't know. I wonder if my console days are coming to an end. Because even if I look at the Switch is not it's not exactly a console. I would call it a hybrid, like a part portable, part console. Like you can play it on your TV, we can also pick it up and bring it with you and play it in your hands. So
yeah.
It's not as strictly, and it is underpowered, I think, because of that. Like it can't pull off some of the stuff like the PlayStation 5 can. But I don't know. I mean, PlayStation 5 has Stellar Blade, and Xbox has nothing. I mean, it's just. Then again, Sony has had Sweet Baby Inc. Apparently, Sweet Baby Inc. is working on the Wolverine game too.
Oh God!
So I don't know what they're going to do to poor Wolverine in that game, but people are very upset with what they did to Spider-Man in the last Spider-Man game.
I mean, even Wolverine has limits to his ability to heal. Just saying.
I remember when they made a Wolverine game that came out around the same time as X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Hugh Jackman provided the voice for the game. And there's a scene in the game where you see Wolverine jump onto a helicopter that was shooting at him. Mm-hmm. He takes the pilot out of the helicopter, lifts the pilot up, and his head gets cut off in the propeller blades.
Oh, God.
So it was like an M-rated game, and I'm like... But that's something Wolverine would have done in the comics,
yep,
right?
It sure is, yeah.
Right, like Captain America or something. He was a... there was that Super Spider-Man games that they never shut about for like 5 years at the E3 events. Oh, that was probably the Spider-Man 2 game, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a win. What, the Xbox failing? Well, no, it's not a win, because I actually would prefer if Xbox was just getting their heads out of their butts, but this is all corporate speak. I don't know why they're in the gaming space right now.
So much of this kind of stuff is just the natural result of business. And I think these companies need to relearn the basics of economics.
Well, we'll see. All right.
Are we ready to board this next hell gondola?
This is disturbing. This isn't funny. So, but we are going to have to talk about it, and
might want to maybe use some terminology to talk around some topics. Refer to them as pudding people, friends of the playground, rather than
not call Nickelodeon Pervo City, basically.
Exactly.
Like it
exactly.
was. I don't know if I'm ready for this one. You may tune out if you have to. It is there is a documentary series now on HBO Max and Discovery, which you can watch as well about this. I've watched the first 2 episodes so far, and I don't think I've gotten to the worst of it yet. And what I've seen has been pretty disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll tell you a little bit about what I saw too. Okay, Nickelodeon employed or worked with 5 child. You can
botherers.
Botherers, as well as 2 others accused
enthusiasts of the playground.
Court records show. Child safety activists claim the channel was infiltrated by predators. I think that's a safe. Well,
maybe not.
Who saw the?
Let's just call them pervs. I think we can still get away with saying pervs.
We'll see. Okay, pervs who saw the power and gave them as a way to get close to the victims.
Yeah.
2 of the offenders were highlighted in a new HBO documentary about alleged child abuse at the channel.
I do see this as the next step in the whole Me Too kind of thing. I hope. I mean, again, this is one of those things where I do feel like our society's become too relaxed and too lackadaisical about, shall we say, bedroom issues in relation to pudding people.
The documentary starts out with a older woman, a mother of one of the child actors on the show, and she says that our own mother had worked in Hollywood and done things behind the scenes. And she also wanted to get involved in Hollywood, and her mother told her, "You will never get involved in Hollywood because I've seen what goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood. You will not get involved there." And then her own daughter wanted to be on these children's shows, and she felt, and she had also when she was a kid, so she decided to let her daughter audition for these Nickelodeon shows. And well, this is where things spiraled because she ignored what her mother had said because she felt, maybe she thought enough time had gone by, but.
Yeah, no, and this is what I was telling Boomer in the backdrop. This is not a question of time because this goes all the way back. Shirley Temple has a story about when she and her mother first went to an audition, and they separated her and her mother, and the studio exec exposed himself to her, and she started giggling because she was a child, and she didn't, she just thought it was hysterical, which of course embarrassed the heck out of him. Come to find out years later, her mother made it possible for her to get into movies. Not going to go into the details about how she did, but I think you can guess.
Wow. Okay. Well, that'll. I didn't know this.
Mm-hmm.
That's worse than when you told me that Connery wore a piece.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first shocking thing you ever told me. But legal records show that convicted and accused Pervo's prior involvement with the channel was far more extensive. Nickelodeon says it has since improved its safeguards. You know what? You'll forgive me if I don't take your word for this, Nickelodeon. These types of people included Jason Handy, a Nickelodeon production assistant who had bad contact with a 9-year-old girl, and Ezel Channel hired as a production assistant at the cable channel after a child something offense conviction, then arrested for something assaulting an underage teen at the studio. So I hope you can fill in the blanks. You can also read the article. Marty Weiss, a talent manager who placed clients on top Nickelodeon shows, was later convicted for lewd acts.
Yeah.
With a client that was underage. All right. And Cody Longo, late star of Teen Nick 2012 show Hollywood Heights, was accused of, this is a list building, isn't it?
Yep.
The HBO documentary Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of the Kids TV, and detailed the conviction of former Nickelodeon dialogue coach and actor Brian Peck. Wow. He went on to work for Disney. Oh, no.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to get to that one.
I thought I'd read this. Okay. Detailed conviction of a dialogue coach who had he did bad things to a child star Drake Bell when he was 15.
Yeah.
He went on to work at Disney after his conviction. Now, it's odd that someone who was convicted still found work at a rival studio after their conviction, meaning through a court of law, they said that he did the things that he was being accused of, right?
Yep.
And you get hired by another children's company. And then he was later convicted of distributing something that you are not supposed to have on your computer or download after allegations emerged that he groomed and... Wow, okay. A Nickelodeon spokesperson told Daily Mail it investigates all formal complaints and is committing to fostering a safe and professional workplace environment, free of harassment, or other kinds of inappropriate conduct.
Yep.
You weren't back then. I don't know if you are now. That's what this is sounding like. Because I'm sorry, don't tell me people higher up didn't know stuff was going on.
Exactly.
Gabe Hoffman, a child safety activist, previously exposed these types of people who work for Nickelodeon and other Hollywood studios in his 2014 document, An Open Secret. He told Daily Mail the problem persists. These types of perverted adults still get hired in Hollywood today, he said. These offenders work with children at Nickelodeon, and unless the industry makes changes, more children in Hollywood will end up getting abused. Reginald Chanel, 54, was convicted in 2003 for... Yeah, so here we go. He was convicted, released on probation less than 2 years later, and hired as a production assistant at Nickelodeon despite his conviction. A mother reported him to the police in 2005 after he started spending time with her teenage son, and she found him on the Megan's Law offender registry list too. And keep in mind that there are different types of these predators too. There were others that were going after the girls as well. So it was both. But the HBO documentary Kai on the set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, also detailed the conviction of former Nickelodeon dialogue coach and actor Brian Peck. I want to say, I don't remember who it was in this documentary what I saw. He was having a party at his house, right? Kids were there with the parents, I guess, right?
It sounds like, yeah.
One of the child actors goes into his garage, which he said was an odd house. It looked like the garage was built as an homage to Planet of the Apes, right?
Okay.
But then he sees this picture of a clown on the wall, which he thought looked out of place. And he asked one of these production assistant guys, "Hey, what's with the picture of the clown on the wall?" Oh, and the guy, he got really excited, and he turned the picture around and signed on the back of the painting it's a self-portrait by, and he turns it around, John Wayne Gacy.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
And then he said, I think the kid, well, still a kid, he knew enough to know that this person was a bad man. And then I think he had the parents were looking at it, and then the guy brought out a bunch of letters. He did correspondence with the guy in prison.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something. Those of you that don't know about John Wayne Gacy, not only was I at just the age for him to be the boogeyman, but he lived, I'm in the Chicagoland area, so, that was his hunting grounds.
Yep.
So, I'll tell you, when he got executed, I stayed up till midnight that night just to make sure that the deed was done. You see these movies like Nightmare on Elm Street and whatnot.
Yep.
Well, that was my Freddy Krueger.
This was
he went to my high school.
He went to Netter's high school.
Did you know him?
No, he went before. Wait a minute.
He went before me.
Yeah, he was older than you. Yeah, exactly.
This individual was a very evil man. Frankly, I felt law enforcement took too long to really start paying attention to him. There were movies about him.
Yeah.
Made-for-TV movie about him I saw once, which I think was it Stacy Keach played him in the TV movie?
That I don't know, but I can see that casting.
It wasn't Stacy Keach. It was I get these confused. The guy was an FX. Brian Dennehy was.
Oh, I can see that too. Yeah.
Good Lord. Yes, I understand, Mr. Matchstick. Yeah, this is very disturbing, and the parents are seeing this too, right? I don't know if this raised the red flag at the time. It raised a red flag, unfortunately, with the young actor who realized, this is bad. But
well, good.
Doing this stuff, you can't. But this was the guy that was the pickle guy who would show up on the set, and I think people liked him otherwise. Like they thought he was a nice guy, you know, just a goofy older guy, and then suddenly you see this, and let's see. Andy, another Nickelodeon production statement, sent pictures of himself to Brandy, and the pictures are not something that would be safe for work. Okay, I'll put it to you that way.
Wow.
It's getting worse. I hear the documentary gets worse. Each episode gets worse with the stuff that's in it. He also so he placed no contest felony charges of lewd acts to a minor, and also.
If I could just back up and make a point here, you made the corollary to Disney because they have children's programming too. And
they were doing a very similar.
There's been a lot of problems over there too. Look, when you see, you know, what happens to child actors and they end up in drugs and they end up being promiscuous and doing all kind and ending up in jail and this and that. Think it through, okay? You know, none of that's good, none of that's right, but maybe think about how they ended up where they did because of what's been happening to them behind the scenes. And then when you hear people leaving Hollywood, like I'm going to say like Macaulay Culkin, for example, or that kid from Two and a Half Men, you know, who said, "That's it, I'm out, I can't do this anymore." You kind of go, well, gee, maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that we're not all privy to.
Yeah. Oh, yikes. That's scary. I mean,
Brittany, Miley. That's exactly who I was thinking, Lady V. Good point. Yeah.
On Nickelodeon, it was Amanda Bynes. They talked about the Amanda Show. I haven't gotten into whether or not she was very close with the producer, but I don't know if it was anything inappropriate. This guy, the main guy, the Dan Schneider, he was a problem in different ways. I don't know if we're going to get and find out that he got involved with other things as far as accusations go, but apparently he's very abusive to a lot of the people that worked for him. That was going on there.
You mean abusive more in the like Ellen
verbally,
DeGeneres kind of way.
Bad boss, not paying them what they should be getting paid, that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah. The old-fashioned kind of jerk boss.
Yeah, but you know, But again, he did hang out with a lot of the young staff. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to get to the point in the documentary that yikes, this article, there are some... Yeah, again, I have to be careful how I'm even talking about this. Who knows? Let me know if YouTube cuts me off at any point. Not that you'd be able to, because I'd be off YouTube. But anyway...
I do... You know, that is a great line from Deleted Scenes. Yikes, this article. There's some sick MFers.
It's very disturbing, though. But no, apparently... No, this was Amanda Bynes was on Nickelodeon. So was Ariana Grande. She was another Nick. Because different stars would be on different. It was either Nick or Disney at the time. It's funny because I was not watching these shows. I did grow up with Nickelodeon, but I grew up with '80s Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
I think when I became
I was just
teenager,
chatting with
watching it. Yeah,
I was just chatting with Price of Random in the chat here because he brought that up too, and I was like, yeah, like you can't do that on television.
I did watch You Can't Do That on Television. I hope
that was a Canadian show. That was not a Nickelodeon production. They just distributed it here in the United States.
Right, because some things on there, like I think Mr. Wizard was on Nickelodeon.
Oh, I loved Mr. Wizard,
I don't think that was necessarily made for Nickelodeon. I think maybe it was on regular TV and then they put it on Nickelodeon later. Maybe they did a new Mr. Wizard series, which had new episodes on Nickelodeon, because I remember that was on there. Remember that he showed you how you could cook a hot dog with electricity?
Yeah, I actually learned some basic programming from that. You know, how to do, literally in the basic language. And it got me for the first time interested in computers, and I then as soon as I was able, I took a class in school on computers.
I remember Janet McCurdy, Sam from iCarly, named her book "I'm Glad My Mom Died," which is telling for the type of people working at Nickelodeon. I think I've seen that title. Was that on the bestseller list recently? I was like, that's an odd title to have for a book. I was not realizing this. But,
well, Lady V kind of makes a great point. The parents that let their kids get into this and keep them in it, they're basically pimping out their kids.
Oh, Curtis Selby, we did a whole stream on this on Troy's channel, Sound of Freedom, I think, or during the summer, so you can Get back to that if you want to hear what we thought of that. But no, we thought that was probably the most important movie of last year, definitely, and something that should have gotten more press.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it did well, so good on Angel Studios for taking
it's also on my Rumble channel, too. I'm pretty sure it's still on the YouTube channel, because I'm unaware of anything they would have taken down. But
I know Disney has skeletons in the closet with this stuff with the Disney Channel. Because
this is exactly why they are so afraid of Nelson Peltz getting on the board.
Oh, wow. Frankly, you rip that right open if you get on the board. I want to know what was going on over there.
Yeah.
Because you notice that a lot of these child actors that are coming forward, they're the ones that didn't get careers afterwards too. And I'm not even saying it's because this is sour grapes and wine. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they were probably too damaged to have careers afterwards.
Exactly.
But what was I going to make a point? It's funny. Corey Feldman's talked about this stuff for years.
Yes, he has.
Seriously. Yep. But let's see. I did want to make a shout out to Olivia Munn here. Whatever you may think of her, she did call out. In 2018, Olivia Munn was forced to publicly out a convicted something actor on the film Predator, a set on which minors were present, as the director and studio refused to act. She was later shunned by her co-stars for doing so. Why do the big Hollywood unions such as SAG-AFTRA allow convicted people who have done these things to children remain members? That's something she asked.
Exactly. Well, and I will argue that it's partly the fault of the audiences that continue to support them. When you know that, don't ever go see a movie that person is in. Don't ever see a movie those filmmakers make.
So obviously a lot of this stuff is covered up, I think, but it's coming out in this documentary. I don't know. I'm worried that could this be the start of a new Me Too movement, but for underage people?
I hope so, because we need to get back to the idea that this is anathema and will not be tolerated. That the only good child, enthusiast of the playground is a dead one.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Okay, it goes on there because that's good. Quiet on the Set does not accuse Dan Snyder of any of misconduct of the type I talk about, but aired allegations of bullying, sexism, and racism, which he has denied. Well, I don't know. Some of the stories are pretty nasty, especially to some of the female editors. How he was, I don't know. So, I don't know. This whole thing. This was all beyond me. Yeah. Just you'll see. Okay, I can't talk about some of this stuff. All right, but anyway, let's move on to the next article, though. Real quick.
Much of which you won't be able to talk about either.
Yes, but you can read the headline there. Nickelodeon star Ali D'Amico said she was forced to kiss a much older man.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So this is why I get angry about this stuff. People in Hollywood are very judgmental about the rest of the country. During the whole Me Too thing, it becomes, this is an American problem. Is it really an American problem, or is this a Hollywood problem?
Exactly.
Because I think the majority of men, I mean, some men do harass women, and I'm not saying they don't, but I think the majority of men do not act like they do in Hollywood in this sort of thing. Amid Drake Bell revealing in the docuseries Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, that he was sexually abused by former Nickelodeon dialogue coach Brian Peck. More former child actors are opening up about their experience on their show sets. Ali D'Amico starred in Naked Brothers Band. That's an interesting title for, has shared a TikTok detailing an incident where she felt forced to kiss a much older co-star despite voicing that she didn't want to.
Especially when you're talking about, in the entertainment industry, they're always talking about having an intimacy coordinator on the set. You would think that an intimacy coordinator would say, there's absolutely no way an underage person will be doing anything with, someone older. No, it won't happen. Get a stand-in, get whatever you want. But then again, you would also wonder why a parent would not be involved, saying absolutely not.
I would also wonder why this is a plot point in a television series aimed at children.
That's an excellent point too.
Okay, but there was an episode where Rosalina cheated on Nat and kissed a French guy, she recalled. He's a 30-year-old man. I'm sorry, I couldn't even watch it. It gives me effing the ick and honestly gives me PTSD. I'm watching this Quiet on the Set documentary, and it's talking about how integral and vital it is to create, especially when it's a kids cast, to create an environment where kids feel comfortable. No, or I don't feel comfortable. This former Nickelodeon star continued. And I'm like, yeah, maybe they do express that, though. And it's more important to create an environment that listens to the kids and actually does not make them do things that they don't want to do, that they don't want to do them. Okay. Tamiko said that she told producers many times that I didn't want to do it. My mom was very against it, and they pretty much made me feel like I was going to lose my job, that I might be fired if I didn't do it. It was weird. Yeah. So.
Well, the only cover for someone like that is something like this. You get the message out, and you make it as uncomfortable for these companies as possible to allow this to happen. It just needs to become okay. That's fine. You push me into doing this, and I'm going to the media with it. I don't even want to hear about contracts and gag orders, because you cannot force someone to stay quiet in a situation of abuse.
Money does outweigh morality, and sadly it always has, but we are taught that there are lines that are crossed. Oh, wait, and I was looking for this one too. Some of these things make me wonder how we missed it the first time Naked Brothers Band aired years ago.
Yeah.
People keep quiet about it. They can also be in self-denial about what happened.
And the problem, too, is that the victims feel ashamed about it. So they, especially young ones, they're embarrassed, and they know that they're going to take flack if they come out about it. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, I'm not going to say that about her. I'm going to say, why didn't your mother speak up louder? Why did these people, why are they even allowed to continue working? Why is this company allowed to continue existing? We really do need to get that level of it if there's ever going to be a change in this industry.
Always thought it was a weird title. Yeah, I thought it was weird too. Maybe it makes sense. I don't know. But again, I'm thinking Naked Brothers Band. I mean, there's stuff in there where they're normally you think, oh, that's just a weird title. And then if you think about it in the context of what we're seeing here, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Children often feel what the adults do is their fault. Yeah, it's interesting. I've had I recall when I was a child having a dream about I think my mother, that there's this Medusa woman after me. I guess maybe I watched Clash of the Titans so many times. My own mother was gonna sorry, I'm gonna hand you over to her. It's no good. And my own mother was abandoning me to this monster.
Yeah.
And apparently, what that is, that's not when you have that kind of dream when you're a child. That's not necessarily it's not a dream against your mom or your dad or someone else. It's a fear you have as a child that someone who has authority over you and you have no power is going to do something bad or
exactly
the result something bad that'll happen to you, and there's nothing you can do about it because you're a child and you don't have that power.
I am a firm believer that the whole purpose of dreaming is not a lot of people have theories, but I believe that the mind creates scenarios that you're concerned about so that you can work through them in your dreams in case they ever come up, Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if we're going to be talking about this subject in the weeks to come, but
I hope not. I hope this is a situation that is going to get better, but I hope for the best, but we should probably be prepared.
I want to find out what was going on over at Disney.
Yeah, I want someone to pay
one
for
thing
it.
that was going on over at Disney.
Yeah.
And frankly speak, it's weird because as a kid, this type of programming, child skit shows, I never got into them because I think they were right under my age range. Actually, no, you can't do that on television. I guess it was a child skit show, so maybe I should say that. But like this new era for Nickelodeon and for Disney Channel, I didn't get into them because at that point I think I was a teenager and this was now preteen, and it was like I'm kind of past this now. But I know a lot of older millennials, especially a lot of millennials, this was their bread and butter, and I'm sure it's coming as a shock to them what all this stuff going on behind the scenes. But all right, here we go. Let's move on to Ghostbusters. Yes. Star Ernie Hudson talks inequitable treatment, pay disparity. It's not quite as simple to blame racism. Well, that sounds like a nuanced approach to this.
Yeah, imagine that.
Ghostbusters star Ernie Hudson is opening up about the beloved franchise, the female-led reboot, and the inequitable treatment he received during the 80s on the original films. Hudson had appeared in 5 Ghostbusters films, starting with 1984's original, the 1989 sequel, 2021's Ghostbusters Afterlife, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which hit theaters Friday. The actor also appeared in the female-led Ghostbusters reboot in 2016, albeit playing a different character. Yeah, they all got screwed over in those cameos.
They absolutely did. Honestly, I as a side note, I really believe that it was what happened with that movie, and probably a lot of anger about it. That is why it was so easy to get the guys back for these last 2 movies, especially Bill Murray, because he was like, you know what, I'm not going out on that note.
Oh, good for all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
His role as Winston Sedmore was first offered Eddie Murphy before Hudson came on board. Reportedly, the role was reduced significantly before filming began. Winston doesn't even show up until about halfway through the film. The character also wasn't featured on the...
Hold on a second. I do want to correct something there. They have a factual error there. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so much that he was envisioned for the role. But there wasn't even an opportunity to offer the role to Eddie Murphy because he was already committed to... Oh, gosh, what was it? Was it...
Beverly Hills Cop, or was it Coming to America?
No, it was... I think it was... depending on the year, it might have been Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh, okay.
But either way, he was tied up, and he could not even be in consideration. He was the original... person in mind in the writing of the script.
It makes sense as he was an SNL alum, and I noticed it was either SNL. Was Aykroyd SNL or SC? He was SNL too, right?
He was SNL. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
It was Harold Ramis. Wasn't Harold Ramis SC?
Harold Ramis was probably SCTV.
Yeah, I think so.
Canada. Yeah, so okay, because sometimes that was Canada.
Bill Murray was also Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that was Canada's SNL, basically.
Right, basically,
Very funny if you watch old clips of it now. But let me see. Okay, but Hudson says it's more complicated than chalking it up to racism alone. You know, being a person of African descent anywhere in the world, we're all just learning how to live together and get along together and realize that we're all connected, he said in an interview with the UK newspaper The Independent. And it's very tempting sometimes to blame anything that doesn't work in your life on racism. But there are a lot of things that play into it. It's not quite that simple. Hudson says that he was paid less than his co-stars, but Murphy likely would have made more had he taken the role given his higher profile. Yeah, Murphy was huge at the time.
Yeah.
We can say it's a racial thing, but I think if Eddie Murphy had played the role I played, he would have been paid very well, Hudson said. I think studios are in the business of making money, and they pay what they feel they have to.
Right.
In addition to Hudson, original stars Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray reprised their roles for Frozen Empire. The 4th original Ghostbuster, Harold Ramis, died in 2014. Hudson said Murray was a huge supporter of Hudson, fighting for a bigger role for his co-star during negotiations for Ghostbusters 2. He said he wouldn't do another one unless I was involved. That doesn't happen very much in the industry. Hudson said, okay, well, there's some nice things he said about Murray there. The actor also opened up about the female-led Ghostbusters reboot, which was released in 2016. Paul Feig directed that movie, which got mixed reviews. Asked his opinion of the film, Hudson said, look, I'm a fan of Paul Feig, so I have nothing negative about him to say other than I don't quite understand why you do a reboot. You know what I mean? Just make another movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That he finds the film's 4 stars, Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones, brilliant and funny in their own right, but added fans who were really invested in the story and characters, and I think it was disappointing. I enjoyed the movie, but I think it wasn't what fans were hoping for. I don't know why with that movie they could have just had it been they're starting their own franchise. They always talked about franchises available.
Exactly.
They just could have had these 4 women take on a franchise. That could have been, and maybe the Ghostbusters show up in cameos. That could have been what they did, but that's not what they did. They decided to do a complete reboot. But interesting. So good on Ernie Hudson.
Jesse said he met Ernie Hudson at a local Comic-Con in 2017. He was so fun to talk to, and I told him my mother was a big fan of the Cowboy Way movie, that he told me his story on that production. Yeah, Netter and I met Ernie Hudson at a local con some years earlier. And this was before there was even a talk of 2016. There was, ever since Ghostbusters 2, there was always some talk that there would be another Ghostbusters. And he was like, I know y'all all want there to be a third one. I don't know. They haven't told me yet. But yeah, he was really good with the fans. He's exactly what his character seems to be in the movies. Just a salt of the earth kind of guy.
Yeah. So yeah, he always struck me but that's what I liked about Winston's character of Winston. He struck me as a regular Joe. That's why I identified with him more than
he sets it up with that line. Do you believe in this, that? Lady, if there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you say.
I love that line. I loved everything. I loved how he was talking about when he's talking to Ray in the car about how
the Bible and stuff.
You believe in the Bible and all this, and he says,
"Do you ever think that maybe what we're seeing, dead coming back to life?"
They're talking about Revelations, and they were saying everything that maybe the reason we're seeing all these ghosts is because the dead are rising from the grave.
Yeah.
Let's put on some music.
Exactly.
By that, I like that.
And you do see, and I mentioned this during the watch party last week with Bill Murray's character too. Bill Murray goes in not taking anything seriously, pretty much not believing any of this stuff. And again, Winston, same thing. He's like, he has no reason to believe it. But when you start seeing all the evidence in front of you and you're dealing with it, you start to believe and start taking these things seriously.
Exactly.
And that's why when he's talking to the mayor and he goes, I've seen shit that'll turn you white. Well, okay, that's a funny line, but he's getting across, I've seen stuff. This is real. I didn't buy it when I signed up, but it's legit.
Yep. Let me see. Diplomatic answer. I guess that's referring to Ghostbusters 2016, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But to be fair, yeah, you go ahead.
The thing about the pay and the charges of racism and this and that, he has said that previously at conventions too. He's like, look, yes, I made less than the other three guys. I don't think that has anything to do with the color of my skin. That has to do with my pedigree, so to speak, in the film industry. They were big names. Nobody knew who I was before Ghostbusters, And it's like, that's a very reasonable, take. Now, I have to assume that he has done better for himself on the last couple movies now. Also, the fans have loved his character so much. Any slights he may have gotten in any of the extraneous marketing material, the licensing companies have gone out of their way to correct. For example, he was left out of one of the old, what was it, 30 however many bit video games, and in the re-release they put him in as a reskin of one of the other sprites.
Yes, that was in the Sega Genesis version. They did a re-thing, and frankly, I would love it if that version came out as a re-release. But, yeah.
And they even thought through, because the other three, each one of those three had higher stats in different abilities.
Basically, the way the game works is like one can jump higher, one. I guess it's the typical thing where you differentiate your traits between three characters. That's why they only went with the three. But then you said they were smart with Ernie's character.
They kind of evened it out, and so he is still a different skill set than the others, but more well balanced, so to speak.
I love that old game for the Genesis. It even has a Genesis version of the Ghostbusters theme when it starts up. And when you run into the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in that game, the game, it's weird because it's not really, it's not an adaptation of the Ghostbusters movie. It's almost like an in-game universe that's based on all the elements from the movie, with the characters we know and love. So when you run into the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, it's not because Ray thought of it and Gozer. He's a ghost of a man that loves. I think he loves Stay Puft Marshmallows so much that he ate himself to death with them.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Back, and it was. That's a really cool game. I wish they had included that on one of the Genesis mini consoles. But again, I think this remaster is cool. I know Sega is not against fans necessarily working on stuff. They could work with Sony and maybe re-release a version again that contains the original Genesis, but also this new version with Winston. That would be awesome if we could get that on something.
I worked. I got involved with a kickstart for a company, a music company. Basically, they did albums of the soundtrack from Ghostbusters as though it was the soundtrack from a video game never made. So it's all that, that MIDI style music. It's really, really, but it's on vinyl too. So it's really neat. Yeah.
Cool. Gotta tell you, if I were trying to get into films with certain results, I would want to take some smallish paychecks to get my resume built up.
Yeah.
I think that's what unfortunately, a lot of these younger actors are doing, but they're taking these dog movies, and it's like, luckily for Ernie Hudson, the Ghostbusters was a smash hit. But
it's one thing to take a lower paycheck to get the exposure you need, because you can grow from there. It's a different thing, regardless of your pay, to take a crappy role that is not going to resonate well. You got to think those things through. Some of this, I'm sure, I have to believe that, what's her name from Showgirls?
Elizabeth Berkley.
Elizabeth Berkley, I'm sure she made good money for that movie. Probably wasn't worth it, considering it pretty much ended her career.
Yeah.
I think she'd have been better off taking less money for a more dramatic role.
Okay, I will say one thing in defense of her picking that role, though. I mean, you had Paul Verhoeven directing, same screenwriter as Basic Instinct. She probably thought it was going to be hit. Basic Instinct was huge for Sharon Stone when it came out.
True, but there's a huge difference just in reading the two scripts.
True enough. But I guess this leads us to our final story of the night. If I'm still on the air.
You are. I'm sorry. I have to.
No, it's okay. You got.
I'm all snotted up, and you guys don't want to hear me hacking and coughing.
No, I do that too on Troy stream. That's what I figured. But I also know I skip out sometimes. This is the stupidest. I honestly,
you know what? Even before you read this article, I'm going to say fuck Jerry Bruckheimer. Fuck this new Pirates of the Caribbean. I will not be going to see it.
I thought he was...
Fuck Disney in general.
I honestly thought he was smarter than this. I've been proven wrong here. This is a completely asinine quotation.
It's his money to throw away, though. Fucking do it. Spend lots of money. I hope you spend, $500 million making this movie. You won't make back a quarter of it, you asshole.
So I'll read to you. Here's what the offending thing is. Jerry Bruckheimer revealed that the next installment of Pirates of the Caribbean will be a reboot of the beloved franchise. The legendary producer said in a recent interview with comicbook.com that they are working on a Pirates... Is he going by they now?
Who the fuck knows?
Okay. In a Pirates of the Caribbean sequel as well as Top Gun 3. But noted that the latter is going to take long to develop since it involves coordinating schedules with A-list actors such as Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, and Glenn Powell. You don't know how they come together. You just don't know, Bruckheimer said, because with Top Gun, you have an actor who is iconic and brilliant, and how many movies he does before he does Top Gun, I can't tell you. But we're going to reboot Pirates, so that is easier to put together because you don't have to wait for...
Yeah, because actors. Tom Cruise is such an A-lister and has done so many movies, and, just fuck Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp is the exact same way. That's why I don't understand the statement. Johnny Depp is also, at least before that trial thing, was an A-list actor, which, of course, it was unjust, the trial.
Yep.
And secondly, he made the Pirates movies. People went to see them for Jack Sparrow, not because they were pirate movies, not because they had Pirates of the Caribbean in the title. They went to see it for Johnny Depp's performance as Jack Sparrow, period. That's why they went to see them. That was the main draw. I'm sorry. Disney seemingly starting from scratch with Pirates may come as a surprise to some fans, as there are already been ideas swirling in recent years about the franchise's failure. Some involved Margot Robbie and others that see Johnny Depp returning. Bruckheimer previously told The Hollywood Reporter in 2022 that they were getting very close with Pirates 6 and even had a very good script. We developed 2 of them, the one with Margot Robbie and the one with the younger cast. He said at the time the Margot Robbie one needs a little more work. The younger cast one is close. Hopefully we'll get both of them. Oh, he'll make 2. Maybe one can be a Disney Plus series.
Don't be mistaken. This is not a thing where fans are saying, we want Johnny Depp to come back, because I don't believe he will. I don't think there's any amount of money Disney could give him to come back to this franchise. They have treated him like such shit. Okay. All I'm saying is maybe it's time to learn a lesson and let the friggin' franchise die. Go make a new franchise with a new actor, because when your franchise is built around a person, I'm looking at you, Indiana Jones, and you don't change it up sooner, it's too late now. You hooked your start of that wagon, or I'm mixing my metaphors. You made your choices, now you got to live with them. And the choices you made are, don't make any more Pirates of the Caribbean. You're done because Johnny Depp is done. Walk away. Or throw your money away, as you choose.
All of the theme park ride theme movies have tanked except for Pirates of the Caribbean. Or at least, I don't know if Tomorrowland tanked. I know that, I think it did. It wasn't good. I remember seeing, not Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland tanked. I didn't see that one. I did see Jungle Cruise, which I was actually, okay, it's got Dwayne Johnson in it, Emily Blunt. It might be a fun, classic Disney style movie. It was terrible.
Yeah. It
was awful. I hated that movie. Both Haunted Mansion movies have performed badly, and I don't even want to know if I'm even speaking to the quality of the second movie, but they didn't do badly. People went to go see the Pirates of the Caribbean movies to see Captain Jack Sparrow as performed by Johnny Depp. That was the reason they went to see them, and the other stuff was fine, but, let's be honest with you, some of the plots of those movies are fairly incoherent.
And Jesse asks
that was a star-driven movie franchise.
And Jesse asks if they're going to do a prequel. I'm not interested in a prequel, to be honest with you. What are they going to do? Get a younger actor to do an imitation of Johnny Depp playing Jack Sparrow? I honestly don't want to see that.
I know he isn't a perfect person, but I like several of his videos. I've seen the video he made to help Crack in the Box get a bunch of subscribers.
Yeah. And there's been videos about him going to hospitals dressed as Jack Sparrow. You can't take that away from him. If you do, you destroy your franchise. I'm looking at the Lone Ranger. They told I'm drawing a blank on the actor's name who played the Lone Ranger. They told him he couldn't go to hospitals and whatnot and greet kids as the Lone Ranger anymore. So he stopped wearing the mask and he started wearing dark glasses. And he said, "You can't tell me what I can and can't do."
Yeah. I can't believe Bruckheimer agreed to this. However, Margot Robbie has her fans. It may make some money, but it won't be the same. Well, to be fair,
if I was Margot Robbie, I'd stay away from it too.
There's never been a thing where she said she's doing this movie. This was something being eyed that she would do this a while ago. Whether how you and I feel about Barbie, it was a big hit, so I think her stardom has raised a little bit. That probably would be their best bet. But it's not
would be, but like I said, if I were her, if she's smart, she'll look at this and go, "I am not wading into that. You guys have a problem here, and I am not your solution."
Did Jungle Cruise come out on the big screen? Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
Because Applebee's was trying to sell the dinner and a movie thing with Jungle Cruise, like they did the following year or two with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That was another one where they were trying to get you to go to dinner at Applebee's, spend $100, and we'll give you 2 free movie tickets or something along those lines. I might watch Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3. Otherwise, I'm not interested in any Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Well, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is that I think the big draw of those movies always was Johnny Depp.
Exactly.
I think the draw of Fantastic Beasts especially that second one, was because Johnny Depp was in it. And when they canned him from part 3, I think that's when that killed the movie.
Yeah,
I think people were wanting to see him as the villain. People like to see Johnny Depp in movies. It's what we call the star system. It's what Hollywood used to do before they started making things so franchise focused. You would go see a movie because a star was in it.
You know what? I don't even think it's the franchise focus thing either. It's because even the franchise films, at least when they became big franchises, pulled in big stars. You know. Or at least made them into stars. I mean, yeah, Chris Hemsworth, who was he before he played, Thor? But everybody knew who Robert Downey Jr. was. And although his star had dimmed a bit, he was coming back. And he pretty much led all of that. And what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, these names, these were already stars when they started casting them, and their stars just got bigger. So this is not a franchise thing. This is a Hollywood in general thing.
Troy,
and welcome, Sashi. And Joshua V. I'm sorry, I didn't say hi to you earlier.
So you said Jungle Cruise was not available in his local theaters. I have no idea why. I think it did get a regular release. Again, though, not all movies make it to all theaters. I can't see. I have to wait for Shudder to get Late Night with the Devil because my local theaters are not showing it right now.
Oh, man.
It's okay. I'll wait. You guys heard about the Butch Hartman incident with Tara Strong? I have not. Hartman was involved in a few Nick projects in the 90s to 2010s. No, okay, I'll look into that. Thank you. We like Tara Strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I do agree. Most people wanted Pirates of the Caribbean for Johnny Depp and the pirate adventure stuff. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen next. That's why I figure that's why they cast Dwayne Johnson in Jungle Cruise, because he's another charismatic actor that people like to see.
Well, and I'm going to argue, too, they probably had him under contract from Moana, and they probably owe him some movies, too.
Yeah, like Emily Blunt. I don't know if she's still on contract with Disney. That's why we're expecting to see her in Fantastic Four movie with John Krasinski, because it made sense because they were fan favorites. Plus, Emily Blunt still had a good relationship with Disney.
Disney has made it very clear that if it's what the fans want, they're going to do the fucking opposite.
But they'll let you see him get murdered in a movie.
Yeah, they'll show him getting spaghettified, right?
It's horrifying. That's it for tonight. Yeah, foot fetish stuff. But I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon with the foot. Now I look at it a different way. At first I think, oh, that's just a fun kid's design, and now you're thinking, well, no, maybe it's because I just don't know anymore. And it's just...
Well, there have been some stories, too, that we didn't actually get into about a certain executive at Nickelodeon requesting certain kinds of pictures. Yeah.
Involving feet, I'm sure.
Yes. Exactly. That's exactly...
Again... We all have our fetishes, right? That's just not one of mine. Okay.
Cult classic in the making. I am glad to hear that, deleted scenes.
Yeah, he did a video on it. I'm sorry, I have not watched the video because I do kind of want to go into it as clear-headed as possible. Not that you spoiled it. I just want to see it already.
Look, Lady V, I am not disparaging that. I gotta be honest. I kind of understand, but with adults, not kids.
Yes. I was never real big on Nickelodeon. Who did Rocko's Modern Life? Was that Cartoon Network, Curtis? I don't know. Cartoon Network I did watch. Actually, when I was a teenager at that time, I was watching MTV. Of course, that was also Viacom owned, so I don't know. I was an MTV guy.
Exactly, Curtis. Yes, you're absolutely right.
MTV was so weird in the 90s. I might have to do a good old days on that. All the weird shows. Like, I used to watch Liquid Television on there. And then after I was on watching Liquid Television, they would show a rerun of Speed Racer. That's how
you're absolutely right, because I remember going from the 80s into the 90s, and they stopped doing videos, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'd see this, like, weird-ass cartoon thing or something, and I'd be like, what the hell did I just watch?
Well, that'll be a good old days, hopefully sometime this month, maybe next week. We'll talk about Eon Flux and Liquid Television. And even some of the other series they did, like The Max. I remember the Max. The Max is brilliant. I have that on DVD.
I mean, the only thing I could figure is, I figured this was late night television. They probably figure most of their audience is like stoned out of their minds.
Probably.
And that's why they're showing this stuff. That's the only thing I could think.
And of course, their big one was Beavis and Butthead, but they had other cartoons too. But yeah, I used to watch all this. I remember Eon Flux. Yeah, we'll talk about Eon Flux at some point. I remember when the first time I saw Beavis and Butthead, I remember too, it was on Liquid Television. They had 2 shorts on Liquid Television. Mike Judd, actually, if you want Curtis Selby, if you can still find them, Mike Judd was responsible for a few DVD releases of something called The Animation Show, which was where, I think it was like a film festival he supported, where all different independent animators made all these little shorts. And they showed them all together like in a full-length format. So you'd get one short after the other. And it was all these weird cartoons, and I think Mike Judd had a few in there, a few of his own mixed in there too. Like I'm trying to think, the guy who was from Office Space, who said he'd set the building on fire, he might have been in there in one of them. Remember that?
I never watched The Office, so I don't know.
Not The Office, not Office. Office Space. Remember Office Space?
Oh, Office Space.
Remember the guy that threatening to burn the building? That was actually from a Mike Judd cartoon.
Yes. He, the one with the stapler, right?
Yeah, he said, I'll just take that stapler. It was a satirization of office life, which you might be able to sympathize with.
Absolutely.
All right, but that seems to be it for this evening. Rocco's Monarch came out on Nickelodeon. Later, the creator would go to Cartoon Network to create Camp Lazo. Okay. See, I didn't watch the Nickelodeon cartoons either. I think I watched the night Ren and Stimpy, Doug. I think I did see the night those premiered, because I was always interested in watching weird cartoons even before I got into anime. And I think Doug didn't hit it for me, and neither, if I'm being honest, did Ren and Stimpy, though. I remember Ren and Stimpy was very popular. Of course, then I realized later on that Ren and Stimpy creator had problems too, like these Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah. Well, and some of those cartoons were like just to say they were pushing the envelope is awfully kind.
I did like Invader Zim. So that was a weird one.
Yeah.
That was about an alien trying to conquer the Earth, I think, pretending to be an elementary school student.
Looking for his Imodium Pew space modulator?
Yes. Kind of, not so far off, actually.
There you go.
All right, but here we are. That brings us to an end of Geeky Geezers for this week.
Yep.
I hope you have a safe and fun first week of April. And by you, I mean me. But no crazies at work for Boomer this week. And I still have to take a shower before going to bed. I'm not got time for work.
And I hope you all have good health, because I am very much understanding and appreciating health right now.
Be aware, tomorrow is April Fool's Day.
Yeah, don't believe anything you see on the internet. Despite Poe's law, when you can't tell if it's a joke or reality, just assume until you have corroboration that it's a joke.
I'm sure it'll be something I want that the game sites say, oh, Sega's coming out with a Sega Saturn Mini with 60 games on it for $100. I was like, yay, and no, that's not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it'll be something like that. Anyway, I'll talk to you all next week. You have a good week, and pay attention to the headlines tomorrow. They may be trying to mess with you.
Take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.